Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Cabinet Vision Guy. In today's episode, we're going to continue our series on rendering, and we're going to take a look at how we can create a 3D walkthrough of any room or design. If we just go into 3D, you might recognize this job from the video creating a countertop reception desk. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to create a 3D walkthrough. I don't actually have any cameras placed at the moment, so I'm going to be starting a complete fresh with this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get a starting position or starting camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head through to camera, and typically what I like to do on a walkthrough is start from sort of an outside position looking at whatever I'm aiming to render. I'm going to set the angle at 50 and I'm going to leave the height about 59 inches. In fact, I'll set that to about 55 and just make that a little bit lower to start us off with. For the camera angle, I try and use something between 40 and 60 degrees. If not, naturally you will start to get a slight distortion. So if I just show you what that looks like, if I set this at 80 degrees. So we like to keep things realistic and again head for between 40 to 60 degrees. And you'll see as soon as we do, it just closes that scene down and gives us a much more realistic camera view. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this camera away. So to save the camera, I can right click and choose save view, and then we can give it a name. I'm just going to leave it as view 1 and just hit OK. And now up at the top, we can choose to select this view. Now what I need to do is start to plot in the other camera positions that I want to use. So I'm going to head back to camera. And what I typically like to do is I like to go for a motion of sort of swinging around the room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a camera shot from down at the bottom here, and then I think I'm going to come to either the right hand side or maybe the front of the desk, and then round to the left, and then we're going to finish on our starting location down here. So I'm just going to hit preview down on the bottom right hand side to see how this is going to look. So this again gives us quite a nice effective shot. So I'm going to right click and choose to save this view. And you'll notice as soon as I've got two views saved away, I've now got the option to edit the walkthrough. And if I click on this, I'll just give you an idea of what the walkthrough looks like. So what we've got is available views on the left hand side. We've got the walkthrough that we're going to build up and the order and speed. And then we've got a preview of this on the right hand side. So the next camera that I want to add is, I think I'm going to go down here and just turn this around, and I am keeping to one central point, but obviously if you pick this point up you can move it away and around depending on the angle of camera that you want to put in. Now with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift this up slightly and preview this to see how this looks. I think I'll go for a little bit more. That gives us quite an effective shot. So I'm going to right click again and save my view. Now it is worth noting, at any point I can choose to move the middle mouse to zoom in or out, or if I click down on the middle mouse I can choose to move the scene around as well, just to get the perfect shot. So I'm going to go from view 3 and I'm going to move this around to this side now and hit preview again, and then right click and save the view. And then the trick to this is I'm going to pick my finishing location, and I'm actually going to use view number 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to save this away again. So now what I've got is a set of cameras, and if I just flick through these, we'll see the different views. And this is going to make up my walkthrough. And you see how on view number 5, I'll just cycle through again, view number 1 is the same as view number 5. So the next thing that I can do is go back to my edit walkthroughs. I've now got all my available scenes, so what I'm going to do is just highlight the ones that I want to take across and then click the arrow here. We can choose to move a view across to the walkthrough or back just by using the arrows. We can reorder the current order of the walkthrough. Again, I like to take my camera shots in order of the walkthrough is going to be, but what we can do is move these up and down if we need to and change a few different shots. You will see the different cameras previewed on the right hand side, and they give you an idea of the walkthrough. In ours it makes quite a nice shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit OK, and then just through the wireframe view I've got at the moment, what I'm going to do is just hit play, pause, walkthrough. And what this should do is give us a preview and an idea of our walkthrough. To stop the walkthrough, all we need to do is hit play, pause walkthrough again. Now this applies to, obviously, as we've seen, a wireframe mode, but we can also do this in fill mode and texture mode as well. And if we just go through to render, we can also do this in real time and Tor too. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to launch the xRender app and I'm going to apply a Tor render to this and show you what it looks like. With the CV rendering app now open, the first rendering mode that I see is actually the real-time render. So if we just come across here and take a look at a few things we can do within the rendering app, we can access a real-time render, which is what we're seeing on screen at the moment. We can also switch over into Tor, which we're going to do in a second. We can also take static renders from the rendering app as well. So we've got advanced and architectural. On the main screen, we can also do things like edit lights and go into properties. And if I just head through to the properties, we'll see that we've got different options, much like we do inside CV for rendering, for each different rendering mode that we can access. Today we're interested in Tor, so I'm just going to have a look at some of the settings that I've got here. So I've got quite a low walk speed, about 10. We can also control the rotation speed from here as well. We've also got different options for the rendering, for things like the quality of rendering that we're going to see. And we can also access our post-process settings in here too. Now what I'm going to do before we hit play, pause, walkthrough, I'm actually going to take this render through into our Tor mode. And it's going to take a minute just to render this for us. It's going to apply all the lighting, all the reflections, and all the global illumination. Now we're into Tor mode, what we can do is we can actually start to move our drawing around to take a different look at it. Now if we go up to main, up at the top, we can also again cycle through the different views that are available to get an idea of what our walkthrough is actually going to do. We can also, down at the bottom here, control things like the walk speed and also different things like the lighting. And one thing to bear in mind when we're in Tor is everything is live essentially, so if we alter the lighting's going to take an effect for us straight away. The same is also true for the post-process effects, so if we go up to properties up at the top here and into Tor and take a look at post-process, what we can do is alter something like the white balance and bring that down a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Down to 30 say. What we can also do is, if you don't want to use the slider, you can actually just click in here and enter the value that you want. Once we're happy with our post-processing effects, anti-aliasing and lighting effects, what we can do is we can then hit play, pause, walkthrough, and bottom right hand side, again we can control the walk speed. And what this does is it gives us a good idea, if we're obviously presenting some static renders alongside, it gives us a good idea of the space that's available. It can be really cool if you've got an awkward sized room. This one's quite nice actually because it's just rectangular. But if you've got an awkward sized room, it can be really cool to get a perspective on the different space that's available. Now just one last thing to show you, if you do want to take any static shots of the Tor render that you're working on, you can do that just by coming up to clipboard and hitting copy, and what that'll do is it'll take a copy of the render that you've got on screen at the moment, and that's a really easy way of sort of rendering 6 or 7 different shots of a room. Again, if we're working in an awkward shape, it can help us get some of the different camera angles and quickly take multiple shots. Hopefully you found this episode useful. Feel free to give us a like, share and subscribe. We're also on Facebook, that's facebook.com/thecabinetvisionguy, and Instagram too, that's instagram.com/thecabinetvisionguy. Cheers!